Ludwig van Beethoven, usually known around the world as just Beethoven, was of course a German pianist and composer. He was born in December of 1770, and actually he became so gifted in music because his father, who was an alcoholic, would actually beat him until he practiced. Of course, Beethoven was an important figure in bridging the classical and romantic ages of Western music. And over the course of his life, he suffered from profound hearing loss. In fact, most of his memorable pieces that we know were composed in the last 10 years of his life when he was deaf. Near the end of his 56-year life, he appeared on stage to conduct for the first time in 12 years. He conducted the symphony and the choir. Keep in mind that he was deaf. And he was up there conducting, and when it was over, he couldn't hear the applause from the audience. And so once the audience realized that he couldn't hear them, they started to throw their hats and their scarves and anything that they could onto the stage so he would know how much they truly appreciated him. That final movement, Ode to Joy, would go on to be a staple for us. Most of us can hum it right now. We use it at weddings and graduations, any big type of celebration. Ode to Joy in its original context was a poem written in 1785 by German poet Johann Christoph Friedrich von Schiller as a celebratory poem. And an ode is a poem that praises a person, place, or event. And so Beethoven took these lyrics from 1785 and he did some revisions, and he added the vocals with a symphony orchestra, which only Beethoven could do, and of course the rest is musical history that we give thanks for. Joy is having a feeling of pleasure, of happiness. It's about being glad. It's about being what Beth was after watching Mark play. Think about that. Beethoven composed Ode to Joy when he couldn't hear anything. And as a musician, it was a mighty blow to him, but he was still determined to practice his gift. He was still determined to share his God-given gift with the world. He could have stopped composing. Many of us probably would. We have no idea how hard it must have been for him to actually compose when he couldn't hear it anywhere else other than inside his head. And that's how you know he was a musical genius. How many days did Beethoven not feel joyful? Yet he gave us such a peace. This morning, as Winder read, we focus on Psalm 84 in its entirety because it's only 12 verses long. The title of the psalm is The Joy of Worship in the Temple. And depending, most Bibles should have underneath that heading, right under it says, To the leader according to the Gittith of the Korites, a psalm. Psalm 84 is one of the psalms attributed to the Korites. They are members of a priestly family whose ancestor was Korah, and he was a Levite priest. And when you have more time or you would like to learn more about him, he was involved in a rebellion in Numbers chapter 16. And so you have this Levite priest, and his descendants are temple singers who often use phrases such as the living God in their songs. It's amazing how their stuff, their phrasing, is what we still use today. According to the Gittith, what does that mean? The HarperCollins Bible Dictionary helps shine some light on what it could be. It states that it's a Hebrew word that appears in the subscriptions to 3 Psalms, but the actual meaning is uncertain. Some scholars believe that it refers to a musical mode, possibly the name of a well-known song to whose tune the psalm could be sung, or possibly some variety of musical instrument deemed appropriate to accompany the psalm when it's sung. The traveling language in the psalm suggests that it was used in processions by pilgrims as they made their way to Jerusalem to worship at the temple. Let us focus on the words of this psalm. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul longs, indeed it faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God. So these people who are making their way to the temple are anticipating their worship experience. They're not talking about last night's baseball scores or basketball scores, though they may have done that at some point in the journey. But right now we know they're anticipating this worship service. And we have to remember that the belief was that in the inner part of the temple was the dwelling place of God. The soul longs, it faints to be in worship and in the presence of God. This longing is almost too much to handle. It's like if you're going on a big trip, the next day you can't sleep at night, or the night before you can't sleep, and so you're just longing. It's too much. But not only is the soul involved, but the heart and the whole being of the person is alive with joy to the living God, to worshiping God. Psalm goes on to say, even the sparrow finds a home and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may lay her young at your altars, O Lord of hosts, my King and my God. Happy are those who live in your house, ever singing your praise. Selah. Even birds find the sanctuary so desirable that they want to nest there, though chances of bird nests being all over the temple probably very slim. The people are compared to a homeless bird. The altars of the Lord of hosts is a safe and secure place for one to lay down their burdens, for one to lay down their hardships. Happy are those who live in your house. This is a beatitude. Happy are those. We know that from the New Testament, Beatitudes are pronouncements that confer a blessing upon people or a person. And Beatitudes are spoken as a direct address to God so as to take the form of praise. Happy are those who live in God's house, those who worship in the house of the Lord, and these people forever sing God's praises. They forever express adoration, love of God. Selah. No one is actually sure what the word means. No one even pretends to know. So again, we turn to the HarperCollins Bible Dictionary to help us out. And it says, Selah is a word of uncertain origin and meaning found in certain psalms. It also appears in Habakkuk 3:3, Habakkuk chapter 9, and Habakkuk chapter 13, verses that are part of a psalm preserved in that book. There's been much speculation about the meaning of this word, a musical notation, a pause in singing for choral singers or instrumentalists, but there's no agreement among scholars as to which is preferred. The psalm goes on to say, happy are those whose strength is in you and whose heart are the highways to Zion. As they go through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The early rain also covers it with pools. They go from strength to strength. The God of gods will be seen in Zion. Again, we have this, happy are those. Happy are those whose strength is in you. God, in God's heart are the highways to Zion. We get that traveling imagery as people make their way to the temple. And as the people travel, they have to go through the valley of Baca, and it's a place of springs, and the early rain covers it with pools. But that's actually not what it's like most of the time. Baca is a valley associated with weeping and and balsam, but today we don't know an exact location for it. When the people of God go through the valley with their joy in the Lord, there's water and there's life given by God. But usually it's an arid, dry, barren place on the way to Jerusalem. But when the people go through with the joy of the Lord, they're witnessing the goodness of God, what God can do, because God can take the barren and the arid and make it a place of water and life. O God, O Lord God of hosts, hear my prayer. Give ear, O God of Jacob, Selah. Behold our shield, O God. Look on the face of your anointed. This section of the psalm points out to the possibility that the king is in the procession and the ceremonies at some point as the people enter their way into Jerusalem and into the courts. This section is a petition for the well-being of the king, sort of like the British say, God save the Queen. This is what this part of the psalm says. This is a prayer of intercession that the king be okay to rule. And we get to that point that we talked about in the children's moment. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to live in the tents of the wickedness. For the Lord God is a sun and a shield. He bestows favor and honor. No good thing does the Lord withhold from those who walk uprightly. O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you. A day spent worshiping God is better than spending 1,000 days anywhere else or doing anything else. Worship of God is the central, most important thing in life. I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to live in the tents of wickedness. And as we discussed with the youth, I would rather stand outside the door of the temple, of the place of worship, and never even enter it than to live a wicked life, than to be the guest of honor somewhere that is not good. I would rather be a doorkeeper, of course, also means that those who are singing this psalm are saying they would rather be a servant in the house of the Lord. Like the youth said, they would rather scrub the floors of this church and be a servant for the Lord and for others than to live in wickedness, because there is joy in serving God. God is a sun and shield. God is protection everywhere the children of God find themselves. No good thing does the Lord withhold from those who walk uprightly. This is a reminder to those folks who might not be in the procession, who are standing on the outskirts, that they need to get themselves to the temple, that they need to live in the way in which God calls them. And then the psalm ends with another beatitude statement saying, O Lord of hosts, happy is everyone who trusts in you. Those who can put their trust in you, those who can give themselves completely over to you, God, are happy and full of joy. This is the kind of joy that Rumi, the 13th century Persian Sunni Muslim poet, was talking about when he wrote, when you do things from your soul, you find a river moving in you, a joy. Even in the midst of his deafness, Beethoven found his joy of music and life because he believed that music is the mediator between the spiritual and sensual life. That's a true quote from Beethoven. Music is the mediator between the spiritual and sensual life. He knew that what brought him joy tied him to the spiritual realm, and because of God there was joy even in the midst of profound loss and sadness. If we try hard enough, we can hear the singing and the joy of the pilgrims as they make their way to the temple. Their voices carry over the century we go to God. We know that God is always with us no matter where we are, but we also must go to God because faith requires action. Coming to church is part of going to God. God calls us into fellowship with other believers. The people on the road to Jerusalem weren't isolated. They weren't just walking by themselves and not talking to each other. They were together and they were singing. Being in fellowship helps us strengthen community and our faith. Being with each other gives us communal joy of God. The more often we go to God, the more trust we put in God, and the more that we serve God and we serve God's people, we have joy. The kind of joy that would make us come here this morning and proclaim, "How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of hosts. My soul longs indeed, it faints for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh sing for joy to the living God." This ends this morning's word. Thanks be to God.